Not every family secret comes wrapped in mystery, some are simply forgotten over time. That's the case with Herbert Powell, a name almost no one in Springfield remembers, yet one that carries tremendous weight in the history of The Simpsons. Herb is Homer Simpson's long-lost half-brother. That's right, same blood, very different fates. The illegitimate son of Abraham Simpson, Herb never knew his real family. Abandoned as a baby, he grew up in an orphanage, never suspecting he was part of such a peculiar lineage. Unlike Homer, Herb didn't have his childhood derailed by the Simpson clan, and maybe that's exactly why he became everything Homer never could. Originally voiced by Danny DeVito, his voice radiates the charm and drive of a true dreamer. Herb is a bold, intelligent, and determined entrepreneur, someone who speaks with conviction, thinks on his feet, and acts with courage. A man who, despite growing up alone, carved his own path in life. But what happens when a man who's always been on his own finds out he has a brother who's his complete opposite? That's when the real story begins. Not one of business, but of bonds. Bonds of blood, of disappointment, of forgiveness, and above all, of second chances. It wasn't until the second season that The Simpsons introduced a character who would forever change the dynamic of TV's most famous yellow family. In the 15th episode, we meet Herb for the first time, a mysterious man with a surprising connection to Homer, a revelation that would catch everyone off guard and unearth long-buried family secrets.
Homer? Herb?
You look just like...
The story begins with a confession, the kind that shakes a family to its core. Abraham Simpson, now old and drifting through fading memories, reveals a secret he's kept for decades. He had another son, a child born out of wedlock, a son he never met, and that son is Homer's half-brother. For Homer, the news hits like a lightning bolt on a sunny day. A brother? And not just any brother, a rich one? Herb Powell isn't just successful. He's the owner of a major car manufacturing company in Detroit, Powell Motors, a titan of the auto industry surrounded by innovation, wealth, and prestige, everything Homer has never had and probably never will understand. But when the two finally meet, something unexpected happens. Instead of distance or awkwardness, there's warmth, a real connection. Herb sees in Homer a chance to reclaim something he's never had, a glimpse of the family he lost. For the first time, he feels the bittersweet taste of belonging. Then comes Herb's bold decision. He wants Homer, the living embodiment of the average American, to help design the perfect car for everyday people. Herb believes that understanding his brother might be the key to understanding an entire nation. And Homer, of course, dives in head first, full of enthusiasm but completely clueless. The result? A rolling disaster.
Any questions?
Dubbed the Homer, the car is an absurd monstrosity, overpriced, gaudy, with a baby bubble dome, multiple horns, giant cup holders, a vehicular fever dream that quickly becomes Herb's nightmare. The public hates it, the company collapses, and Herb loses everything, including his patience.
Your life. Maybe I would have been better off. Maybe?
The failure isn't just financial, it's deeply personal. Hurt, betrayed, and ruined, Herb cuts ties with Homer, the crushing disappointment of a brother who had everything and lost it all by trusting someone who had nothing. From that moment on, there are no more business ventures, only silence. But Herb's story doesn't end there. In the final episode of Season 3, titled Brother, Can You Spare Two Dimes?, he returns to the screen, only this time at a very different point in his life. Once a man of success, he now faces the harsh consequences of poor decisions. After the disaster of the Homer, Herb's world crumbles, the mansion disappears, the luxury cars vanish, and the loyal employees become nothing more than a memory. What's left behind? A fallen billionaire, wandering the streets homeless, invisible, forgotten, with eyes that carry the pain of having trusted and lost everything. Meanwhile, back in Springfield, Homer's life continues its usual chaos, until one day, in an unexpected twist, the nuclear plant awards him a small consolation prize, money as compensation for damage caused during a test. When the news makes it to the papers, Herb sees it as his last shot. He still believes in his intellect. All he needs now is a little financial help. Determined to start over, Herb heads straight to the Simpsons' house, but after knocking on the wrong door, he ends up at the Flanders. brothers. They help clean him up, restoring a bit of the dignity he'd lost. Eventually, Herb moves in with the Simpsons, trying to find his footing again. One evening, during a family game night, the conversation turns to the $2,000 Homer received from the power plant.
How would you like to spend $2,000 to give a broken man a second chance?
That's when Herb sees his opportunity. With eyes full of hope, he reveals he has a brilliant idea, an invention that could turn his life around. All he needs is a push. He asks to borrow the money and promises to pay every cent back within 30 days. In a rare moment of unity, the family silently agrees. After all, they know Herb only lost everything because of Homer. This was their chance to make things right, maybe even to rewrite the past. But Herb isn't just any man. Even at rock bottom, his brilliance shines through. With Homer's money, he builds an ambitious invention, a machine that can translate a baby's cries, something no one had ever achieved, a way to understand what a newborn is feeling. The invention becomes a hit. Herb is back on top, but this time, something's different. He's not alone. The wealth isn't just financial, it's emotional, because along with success comes forgiveness. He looks at Homer, and instead of resentment, he offers gratitude, not for the downfall, but for unintentionally giving him the chance to rise again. Before leaving, Herb buys expensive gifts for the family, but the greatest gift of all is priceless: peace between two brothers who finally understand each other. The farewell is warm and light, because this time, unlike the first, there's no bitterness, only a path that's been rebuilt. Herb Powell isn't just Homer's long-lost brother. He's the reflection of what Homer could have been in a parallel reality where luck, intelligence, and discipline aligned. Smart, sharp, and full of vision, Herb is the kind of person who walks into a room and changes the atmosphere, a natural-born leader, an entrepreneur by instinct. But behind the confident facade is a man shaped by absence. Raised without a family, without roots, Herb learned to trust no one but himself. And maybe that's why the betrayal, even if unintentional, hurts so deeply. The fall of Powell Motors was more than a financial collapse. It was the ruin of the faith he placed in a brother he never really had. Even so, Herb proves that true greatness isn't just about building empires. It's about knowing how to rebuild. He feels, he hurts, he holds grudges, but he's also capable of forgiveness. Because deep down, success was never enough to fill the void left by the word family. The relationship between Herb and Homer. The relationship between Herb and Homer is an emotional roller coaster. It starts with euphoria, instant affection, a near magical connection between two strangers bound by blood. But it quickly dives into chaos, disappointment, and distance. Herb sees in Homer a chance to understand the average American. What he didn't expect was that this average could be so disastrous. The collapse of his company hits too hard. Trust is shattered. Resentment becomes inevitable. But time does what pride can't. It heals. And when Herb returns, broken on the outside but open-hearted, he sees past Homer's flaws. He realizes his brother never meant to hurt him. He just didn't know how to help. In the end, their dynamic is a powerful reminder. Brothers make mistakes, fall short, drift apart, but they also get the chance to reconnect. Affection survives the stumbles, and the bond, no matter how fragile it may seem, proves stronger than any setback. Because what binds Herb and Homer isn't success or failure. It's the simple and profound desire to finally call each other brothers. Fun facts about Herb Powell: even with only a few appearances, Herbert Powell left a lasting mark on the series and on the hearts of Simpsons fans. His disastrous car, the Homer, became a true meme among the show's devotees. Over the top, bizarre, and completely impractical, it stands as the perfect symbol of what can go wrong when you mix family and business, and yet it's remembered fondly and with humor to this day. But what truly sets Herb apart in the show's chaotic universe is how different he is. He's one of the few relatives of Homer who isn't completely eccentric or dumb. On the contrary, he's smart, articulate, and emotionally complex. And maybe that's why he earned such a lasting place in the fans' hearts. For years, people have asked for his return in later episodes, hoping to see more of the dynamic between the brothers. But there's an interesting reason behind Herb's absence. Danny DeVito, who gave voice and soul to the character, declined to reprise the role. Without him, the creators chose not to bring Herb back, out of respect for the strength of his original presence. And in the end, maybe that's what makes Herb even more special. A character who showed up, shook everything, moved us, and left. Not just leaving behind a terrible car, but a memorable story of forgiveness, failure, and humanity. When history asks for a comeback, the possible future of Herb Powell. Herb Powell may have vanished from official scripts, but he never disappeared from the fans' imagination. On the contrary, with such limited screen time, he became one of those characters full of untapped potential, a well of stories the series never told, but that thrive in fanfics, forums, and theories across the internet. Some envision a triumphant return, where Herb reappears as a mentor to Bart or Lisa, helping them carve their own paths beyond Homer's shadow. He'd be the inspiring figure they never had, someone who understands the real world, but also knows the value of empathy and reinvention. Others imagine a more bittersweet plot. What if Herb lost everything again? What if, broken a second time, he returned to the Simpsons' home, not as a businessman, but as someone simply in need of a place to belong? That take would humanize him even further, showing that not every fall ends in glory, but every journey can begin again. And there are those who picture a new rivalry. Maybe after rebuilding his life, Herb and Homer clash once more, now as men with opposing views on family, money, or even politics. Two brothers who love each other but constantly butt heads because they see the world so differently. The truth is, Herb Powell lives on, not in episodes, but in the collective desire to see him again. Because characters like him don't really disappear. They just pull over for a while, waiting for the next turn in the road. And that's the incredible story of Herb, Homer's long-lost half-brother who, despite only a handful of appearances, left a lasting impression on The Simpsons. He taught us that family doesn't always follow a perfect script and that it's never too late for a fresh start, even when everything seems lost. As a fan of the show, I'll admit it, I'm still rooting for Herb to make a comeback someday, and I'm pretty sure you'll be cheering for that too. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this journey through Herb's forgotten story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any updates from the world of The Simpsons. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.